Cue the music, let's go. I'm your boy Ro, OG member of the Orange Bowl Boys, and welcome to a preview edition of Student of the Game. Your Miami Hurricanes are set to face the Florida Gators at Hard Rock Stadium this Saturday. So I figured, let's look at some film, shall we? Florida takes on LSU in Death Valley. I heard it was called the real Death Valley. The Clemson fans, just got to throw that shot in there. I'm going to say this. Billy Napier does his job on this play. Offensive line does its job on this play. Let's look at the offensive line first. LSU coming in an odd man look right here off the rip. They have 4 defenders on the left side of the center, so they got to make a declaration call. The offensive line is going to do it, and how they do it is basically from this point over, they're going to slide to protection. Right here, they're going to fan the protection. We saw this last week on the Miami USF game. So I think the offensive line does a really, really good job here. We'll watch that unfold. There you go. Some come, some declare, and everybody else is dropping back into zone coverage. The zone coverage, you can see it clear as day because, look, I call it zone eyes. Look at all the eyes looking back at the quarterback. A lot of eyes looking back at the quarterback. Even more eyes. Safe to say that this is zone coverage. Now, the actual route concept that Florida does, a tried and true concept, it's a variant smash, right? And what do we talk about when we talk about smash? You're going to see this develop at the top of the screen. Okay, so the number 1 receiver who motion in is going to go ahead and take a corner route while the underneath receiver essentially stays flat. Now, you could do variants where you sit in like a stop or a curl or do an out. And all you're basically trying to do is leverage this defender. It's a high-low read, meaning like if that corner sucks down, I have the ball over the top. If he starts to drift back, I can hit this underneath. I can tell you right here, DJ Lagway does a pretty good job. I mean, this is right here. This ball coming out, you can see it clear as day, Canes fans. Right here, soft spot in the zone. Just need to lead this ball over the top. It's open. You got a window. That's NFL open, but it's just an abysmal ball underneath, gets undercut, and that's going to be one of 5 interceptions for your LSU Tigers. I don't have that one on Billy. I have that one squarely on the quarterback's shoulders. We're off and running, Canes fans. Buckle up. So on the last clip, that was squarely on the quarterback's shoulders, but on this one, yeah, we're going to have to go ahead and ding the offensive line. You've heard me say when you come into the phone booth, you win phone booth prizes, sometimes for the defense, sometimes for the offense. Right here, University of Florida coming tight to the formation. You see the bunch. Now, here's where it gets tricky, okay? So you have the 4 defensive linemen. You're seeing it here, okay? 3 on one side of the center, essentially 1 up here. Now, this declaration, this is going to be a little bit tricky because is he going into coverage or is he going to come in and try to go ahead and rush the quarterback? In this case, he's going to rush the quarterback. So how does UF decide to block this up? Well, you're going to see it right here. Right tackle is going to go ahead and basically push out, get on that island, and that one guy that was tight to the formation inside with the bunch, well, he comes unchecked. And it's never good luck when you have, 2 offensive linemen right here, 2 Florida Gators blocking 2 for 1, and basically there's somebody coming in untouched. But those are those simulated pressure looks a lot of time. What's coming, what's not. That's the game within the game. Very clearly, he gets home. That's what disrupts the play. Running back wasn't even looking for work, right? They just had him go out to the routes immediately. This gets swallowed up. So on this 3rd and 4, you can't block it right. Quarterback has no shot. So on 3rd and 8, defensive coordinators, well, they like to go in their bag too. Offensive coordinators have like trick plays. Well, on 3rd and 8, you can get a little bit creative. In this case, I don't necessarily think the Florida Gators put all of their players in the best advantageous spot to succeed, and I'll explain later. But we'll see the coverage right here. On the back end, it's just going to be simple quarters coverage, meaning that they're all going to take a 1/4 of the field. You see the zone eyes materialize, and that's kind of like the umbrella trying to keep everything underneath. You see the 7 Gator defenders right here up front. They're all threatening to come. Not all of them come because the peculiar spot is right here. They're going to ask their 2 biggest guys, their 2 big defensive tackles. Well, they're going to drop back into zone coverage here and here. So it's basically a zone blitz with quarters coverage behind it. So that's what we got. Now, I think the LSU quarterback does a really good job here because offensive line, they see this and their strategy was, we're just going to go ahead and block this straight up. Nothing fancy. We're just going to take step backs, your traditional pass pro. So as a quarterback, I got to think somebody could come free. And it happens at the top of the screen. This is where it happens. UF's trying to get exotic. You see it, okay? Here he comes. Top of the screen, you see him. He's coming untouched. Quarterback knows this, so he That's his guy now. Quarterback has him as a responsibility. That's not the offensive line busting. That's them doing their job, and the quarterback still has to account for people in this kind of a scheme. But he does a good job because he realizes, I got to get the ball out quick. Where's my hot? There's my hot seam right down the middle of the field. Obviously, those two big defensive tackles couldn't factor there. Soft spot in that quarter's coverage is right down the middle. So LSU wins that one on 3rd and 8. I love watching interceptions. Now, I know it's easy for Miami Hurricane fans on this one because this involves a rival QB. But even when it's our QB, you can learn from it. In this case, when I see this, quarterback again kind of loses sight of a safety. Offensive line does its job. And when I saw this concept, I was like, oh, my goodness, it's 2/3 of a sucker concept. Okay, but there was a big critical component to make it a full sucker concept. So I'll explain. All right, let's take our time on this one. So at the snap of the ball, what is a sucker? Okay, so just imagine with me, if you could, a sucker is basically when you have a dagger concept. Okay, this is the dagger. This is a tried and true dagger concept. Okay, slot's going to take the go. Outside receiver's going to take the dig. And then if you add another component in here, that's like the sucker. That's what turns dagger into sucker. You just have somebody sucking up the defender, which it does. Okay, so this concept does its job right here because you're going to see it sucks up this defender right here. Okay, so he's sucked up. Now, you remember that missing kind of like dagger component? Well, that's there to occupy the safety. So as a quarterback, when I don't have a route occupying the safety, I need to attribute for the safety. Okay, nothing's occupying. So kudos to the LSU safety here because he goes ahead and clamps this down because there's nothing threatening him, right? Nothing. He sees the dig from outside his purview, right? Great play. Got to credit the LSU safety hardcore for that. Now, something else I find kind of intriguing on here is quarterback kind of puts himself in the harm way where he loses sight of the safety. And this I love these views because, at home we can see what the quarterback does. And I'll tell you when I feel it kind of goes sideways for Mr. Lagway, okay? Here he is. He's got an open sight picture right down the middle of the field, right? It's right down the middle of the field. He can see, all right? Now, inexplicably, next you know, when he works up into the pocket, you see what he did there? He literally just puts himself, he escapes in the pocket to impede his vision. So you don't have a route occupying the safety. You just jumped into harm's way. You impeded your own vision. So now he's just trusting what he knows in practice and where a guy's going to be. And look, the ball is exactly perfect where it needs to be. He just loses sight of the LSU safety. Pick number 3, and it's a backbreaker. And I'm sorry, son, I'm not trying to pick on you, but these are all on your shoulders. I noticed this from the USF UF preview that we did on Student of the Game, and if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check that out because that also involves the Florida Gators. But in this case, every time I saw in that game, kind of like 3x1 or 4x1 looks, okay, that's exactly what this is here. Okay, this is 3x1 and then top of the screen, so 4x1. Okay, that's what I mean by that. 3x1, 4x1. That he would favor that slant. Okay, that was part of their offense, and he's very comfortable and adept at doing that. Now, here's his guy. And I think he knows it, okay? I think he realizes on the backside he likes to go ahead and hit this slant. So at the snap of the ball, you're going to see it materialize. He's gone, right? And where is he going? He's immediately going into that slant window. I think this interception, if you ask me, and if we talk to that young man, that linebacker, he got that interception in film review. That's just my personal opinion because he seemed to have a step on the ball. Now, at the same token, in the same breath, I do think at the quarterback position, it's a little traveling, right? A couple too many steps, right? We're going to watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, just a couple little steps. Probably want to get that ball coming out a little bit quicker, a little bit heavy-headed. He's staring that down. Linebacker makes it easy. Ooh, that's not going to win you friends in film review when you don't go ahead and lay out for that. And listen, it's going to end up being the final score, right? 20-10. Ugh. The University of Florida's defense gets victimized here by an RPO, a particular one known as a post-snap RPO. And I'll make the case right now that it's an RPO because all you got to do, and typically what I do is watch the offensive line, all right? When you watch the offensive line here, watch how they block this. This isn't your traditional pass pro, right? Because this is a pane of glass. Now watch what's about to break through. Bam, you have an offensive lineman break through that glass, and the running back, okay, you're looking at the running back, sneaky, suspicion. He looks like he was expecting a ball. He could have had a ball. He's not looking to be a pass pro, kind of a specialist in this. He's looking to go ahead and get downhill and get crazy, folks. But what was the post-snap part? All right, and that's what you need to watch now. Watch the quarterback's vision, okay? Just watch him. At the snap of the ball, post-snap, he's looking, pulls it, and then decides to hit the seam window right down the middle of the field. How that got open, just sometimes you get lucky. Safety right here, he's going to go ahead and patrol down here. You're going to see it at the snap of the ball. He's going to turn now, okay? So he's vacating that window, and that's what post-snap RPOs do. You can see things post-snap. That's why they call them post-snap RPOs. So quarterback sees that the safety is now gone and vacated, so astutely pulls the ball, throws this ball, nobody's there. Big play. I'm curious because University of Miami has a pretty lethal RPO game, pre-snap and post-snap itself. Quick hitter clip, but not everybody can be Cam Ward. Nope. And it's going to be another interception, nothing complicated. LSU's going to be in zone coverage, 3rd and 9. But pay attention to the safety, shall we? Because right here at the top of the screen, bam, bam. At the snap of the ball, you're going to see them and what they do, okay? They're going to literally patrol their halves of the field. See them break out? Okay, so they broke out. That is what the quarterback, DJ Lagway, sees. He sees 2 corners bail out, but they do something pretty smart because at the top of the screen, you can't see it pictured, those routes are staying short, so there's no threat for the safety, right? DJ Lagway thinks that safety's gone. But that initial safety who turned his hips and went away, well, he had nothing threatening over top. He swings back around. He's well taught. Poor ball, triple coverage. All 4 so far have been on the quarterback. And this is going to be the last clip of the evening. Now, full disclosure, I knew the stat line. I knew DJ Lagway threw 5 interceptions. But I've done film review enough to realize that not every interception is always going to fall on the shoulders of the quarterback. Sometimes wide receivers can run the wrong route. Some things are just simply out of their control. But in this case, 5 interceptions, they're all squarely on the shoulders of the quarterback. This one no different. At the top of the screen, this is kind of when you see quarterbacks seeing ghosts, all right? And this is what I mean by this. It's tough. You've thrown 4 interceptions. You're on an island. Nobody's talking to you on the bench. Been there. I know what you're going through, son. But at the top of the screen, here's the ghost. It's right there, okay? Just pull the trigger. It's a nice little stop. Now, full caveat to this, they were trying a shot play, a stop and go. But that's the thing. You're trying to stop and go. Defensive back for LSU is not fooled. You just got to be able to sit that underneath and hit the ball. Tries to make a play, rolls out, and then inexplicably, and just can't do this. You heard late across the middle. That's not across. It's just late. Anything in a bad direction is bad. And in this case, that's For the final time, I'm your boy Ro, OG member of the Orange Bowl Boys. Stay safe, my friends, and as always, bang.